This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey guys, it's the back-breaking artist Jake Painter, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all the big wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I'm, of course, your host, James J, and it is a great day for wrestling because we are wrestling with the back-breaking artist, Jake Painter!
Hey guys, how are we doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Like I said, I had a pretty busy weekend. Went to Memphis, Indianapolis, and Chicago, and then came home, and then participating and helping out Paul London with his new academy, the Kayfabe Academy out here in Los Angeles, California. So, like I said, very busy, staying on my toes, and just trying to get better every day. That's all I can do.
Absolutely. And where can we find the back-breaking artist breaking backs next?
All right, so this weekend, Knox Pro Entertainment will be having 2 shows in Pomona, California, Saturday and Sunday. And then also I will be wrestling in San Diego, California for San Diego Pro Wrestling Academy against El Primo Genio on Sunday. So you get to see, if you're in the Southern California area, you'll have 3 opportunities to catch me breaking backs this weekend. So.
And of course, where can we find you on social media and your website?
Yes, so Instagram, you're going to see BBA, so backbreaking artist _Jake _Painter. On Twitter, you'll see @JPaint30. And then both of my profiles, so if you guys need t-shirts or anything like that. I also have a pre-workout that is one of the top in the market, tested, certified. You know, I use it for all my workouts. It's called Dr. Swole Nutrition. Love to plug those guys. And then if you need any CBD related, kind of to, relax and recover, High Valley CBD will also be on my links. So definitely dive into those products. That's what the backbreaking artists use to be successful. And I hope you guys enjoy it too.
All right, and all of the links to all his social media and merchandise will be in the description of the video below or on YouTube. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about your last match that you had, where you tried to get a little help from a child.
Oh yes, the little clip that went viral this weekend.
Yes.
So fun. So one of my promotions that I probably wrestled the most for, Galley Lucha Libre over in Chicago, had me back this weekend for a Discovery Championship match against Big John Crowley. Having a great time. Was kicking John's ass around the ring, and I was looking for some fan help. I had the sweet little girl. Her mom seemed pretty excited about her going and giving this guy a chop, and she ended up being this the biggest sweetheart ever, and just gave her a big giant bear hug. It was one of the sweetest things I've ever seen in professional wrestling. Put the biggest smile on my face. I was like, in the moment you're like, come on, kid, I need your help here. But, when you look back on it, you're like, oh, how can I even, how can I be upset? This is too sweet.
well, you mentioned that you're originally from Chicago, but you moved out
Yes.
here to Los Angeles. What kind of
Yes,
brought
that's correct.
that move? Because I mean, Chicago is a wealth and a hotbed of pro wrestling.
Oh, absolutely. So actually, I had gotten an opportunity from my everyday job. I was pretty successful in what I was doing, and an opportunity came up for a territory in Hollywood, and they gauged my interest a little bit, and I was like, hey, you know what? I had been thinking about just wanting new opportunities and wanting to do different things. Not only in wrestling, in life, I wanted to expand. I was born and raised in Chicago, so that ultimately ended up being what got me out. And when I came out here, I was like, all right, what am I going to do next? What's next for me at this point in my life and in my wrestling career? And I felt like I needed to, sharpen up some of my, finding camera angles, that TV style of work, and that's where Knox Pro came into play for me. Definitely like being able to pick minds like Rikishi and Reno Anawai, the Black Pearl, about their time in the business and what they've done, and being able to go to them for advice and some guidance on different opportunities that working with them have gotten me. I have them to thank because they really did change my career for the better. Over in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately, my actual job is what brought me out to California, and I thank God that it did, because it changed, like I said, changed my life forever.
Well, I am interested because, California is more of a lucha-based, wrestling city, well, state. So what were some of the differences you saw transitioning from Chicago to California, wrestling-wise?
So what I will say is that my time with not only did I do a lot of work with Galley, I also trained there pretty consistently. So I was able to get a lot of training from guys like Gringo Loco, Golden Dragon, the Atomico family. A lot of, like I said, to really prepare me, ultimately for the next step in my life, which would be out here in a lucha-filled scene such as Southern California. And I didn't even know it yet, So the biggest thing that I've learned, in professional wrestling, like my personal favorite quote, is from Fred Rosser, who as we'll probably dive in later, that I trained with, that was my trainer at the New Japan Academy.
Right.
His biggest thing was our greatest ability is our adaptability, and to be able to have the lucha, background at this point, and be able to, understand a lot of the language barrier isn't too hard for me. Like I know a lot of the way that, guys who work lucha, say things and word things, and, just the different moves that, we use in traditional wrestling. I was prepared for that. So it wasn't really that hard of a transition. The one thing about down here I will say is just breaking in with a lot of these places. Like a lot of places have good storylines going on. They have a lot of, they've been using, they have their rosters, they have their guys, and so the biggest thing for me out here is just kind of get that Cody Rhodes mentality of like, I gotta do what I have to find a way to be undeniable, right?
Right.
So how can I add to my resume, and how can I when I hand my resume to a promoter or to a company, I want them to be able to look at it and say, we can't say no to this guy, and that's why, I'm taking time to work with guys like Paul London. That's why, even though I'm a trained professional wrestler, I'm going to the New Japan Academy and getting more work. That's why I still go to Knox Pro on a weekly basis. That's why That's you. Everybody asks reasons why I'm doing these things or what I'm doing it for. It's because I'm on a journey, and my destination is to be on TV and to eventually be a household name. So you just the grind doesn't stop. You gotta keep getting better. You gotta keep searching for more. But at the end of the day.
Well, speaking about, adding to your resume, can you tell us about your match against Benjamin Trust?
Oh yeah, I mean, Ben Trust is one of the bigger names coming out of the Southern Illinois and St. Louis area right now, and he's actually one of my closer guys in wrestling. Like we talk pretty frequently and we check in on each other a lot. And the match with him at Galley, was just one of those straight up respect matches, man. Like it was, two guys who have a lot of respect for each other, have a lot of similarities when it comes to the hunger and what we're trying to do in this business. And when you get it's almost a perfect recipe for success and for a good match, and he, we took care of each other, and we can't wait for the next time we get to lock it up, because even in the it was a match that was even in an untraditional atmosphere. We did a American style match at Galley, so get that, maybe a different crowd, maybe a different style that we can work. I've only gotten better, he's only gotten better, so the next time we get to lock horns, I'll be excited. I can't wait.
All right. Now, you mentioned it. You were part of the New Japan Pro Wrestling Student Dojo. The trainers were
Yes.
Kushida, Sasha Banks, and Fred Rajo. Can you tell us about that
Correct.
experience?
Honestly, I've told a lot of people this at this point too. I have never felt more in my element as a professional wrestler than when I was training at the dojo, because the way that the training style is and the way that they run things is very similar to American football. And I played American football my whole life, all the way up through the collegiate level. So it had been a while since I felt, there's a certain grind, there's a certain mindset that I used to get in when I would train for football, or when I was a football player, and it brought that back in me. It made me feel like I was in my element. So, like I said, there's Kushida was, one of the most, he did a really good job with his English. He doesn't give himself enough credit, because he, was able to explain things in ways that, traditionally guys wouldn't be able to, understand, or, he made sure we understood the point he was trying to get across. And some of the things that he taught us, like in-ring work-wise, like, is invaluable. A guy like Fred Rosser is, he's up there with one of my favorite guys I've ever gotten to, get in the ring with and learn from, because he is just so real, so down to earth, just understand like a real life, worries and struggles of what we're trying to do. And he really does do a great job of applying it to, the real life stuff, to professional wrestling, and applying it to his teachings. So some of his quotes are like some of the ones that like resonate with me and will resonate with me for the rest of my life. And unfortunately, Mercedes Monet had gotten injured, so we really didn't get a chance to work with her or see her due to that injury, because she was recovering. So, but overall, it was a great experience. I'd like to personally thank Justin Morales, who kind of helps a lot with the dojo and is kind of in charge of everything over there, for inviting me and having me be a part of that experience. And, from a career standpoint, it truly was, a difference maker for me.
And obviously that all culminated to the dojo showcase show,
Yes.
where you had a fatal four-way with SoCal Crazy, Buck Skynyr, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct, and a one
Yep, Buck Skinner.
Sean Vegan Keegan. Shout out to him for
Yes.
the show. How did it
Yes.
feel? It's one thing to train in the New Japan ring. It's another to actually compete in one. So what was that like?
So from my understanding, there were only a handful of Fatal Four-Ways in the history of New Japan to that point. And so it seemed pretty special, especially when they let us know what we'd be doing. A lot of respect for all three of those guys. I'd go to battle with those guys any day of the week, and I can't describe to you how special and important being in a New Japan ring was to me and to my career. The amount of people that had reached out, and I thank every single person that has watched that show and that match, because it's all of us just putting all of the work and the blood, the sweat, the tears, the grind, all of it, just leaving it all out there in that ring. So, like I said, I think everybody that had reached out to me and said that they watched and that they, were proud of me and all that stuff, because, we left it all out there, man, and it was a blast. And like I said, I'd lock horns and I'd run it back with any of those guys any day of the week. You see what Buck was just on one of the most recent New Japan shows. Sean Vegan Keegan starting to get his thing going out back up in the Northeast where he's from. SoCal Crazy's doing his thing. He just went to Japan recently. And I'm doing my thing. Business is picking up for me too. So yeah, I mean, I that was one of those experiences I'll forever be grateful for. And hopefully there's much more where that came from with them, because like I said, I never felt more like me than when I was in that ring doing my thing. So,
competing for New Japan, is that, and being in the ring, is that a moment you take in that moment, or is it something that kind of sets in afterwards?
It sets in a little bit afterwards, right? Because when you're in, and this is for me, everybody's different, especially in wrestling. I'm sure you ask this question a lot with guys.
Yes.
I'm so, me personally, right? Like I have a football approach, right? So I watch a lot of film and I'm very in the moment with a lot of stuff, because you got to take it in. I've been really bad in my life, not just in my career, but in my life, about taking in moments and, soaking it all up in that moment and just, living in it and being like, and that was a big thing for me for that. I was like, I need to just be in this moment, and then I'll reflect on everything and have my thoughts about everything after the fact, right? So definitely lived in that moment and just enjoyed it and had a great time, and just, you never know when it's your last, right? I could have been dropped on my neck, during the match. I could have, anything could have happened to me. So I've been trying to live in the moment more and really just, take it all in when I'm there. And then once I get through it, watch the match back a couple times, see where the improvements can be made, see where, see the good stuff that happened and what I can keep consistently doing to get better. And yeah, so that's kind of how I've been processing, not just the New Japan match, but every match I'm a part of, up to this point.
Well, did you take the moment in when you got riptied by Mami?
And that's another one, right? But man, it wasn't even like taking the slam from her, right? Like that's everybody. Like, oh my God, like you got slammed by Rhea Rippley. Like, no, the big moment is that was one of the hottest starts to Raw in a long time. The show started with all the girls brawling, and Shane Helms and all the producers, like, getting all of us out there. And the one thing I'll never forget the sprint to the ring with all the other security guys, because that was a rush of adrenaline. That was like, I'll always be able to remember it. I'll always be able to be like, holy crap, like that, like I'm hitting the ring in front of 20,000 people right now. And the crowd was hot, red hot, because Raw had not started that hot in a very long time.
Right, and I mean,
so it was a hell of a moment, and everybody was super easy to work with. Picked me up like a feather, super strong girl, Rhea, as we all know. Very fun. All three, like I said, all four of the girls in the segment were super sweet to me. Thanked me, all that good stuff. So, just went out there and did my job like they asked me to do, and it was a great time.
Was anybody coming up to you afterwards giving you advice in the back?
No, nothing advice-wise, right? It was more, my favorite little memory of afterwards was Otis came up to me, and, Otis is just as big of a goofball as he, on TV as he is in real life, it seems. And, he started, like, poking me in the belly, poking me in the chest, and he's like, way to take that bump, baby. And, like, that was the moment for me where I was like, oh, hell yeah, like, dude, it's Otis, baby. So that was the big moment for me. It was like, when a guy like that was like, yeah, baby, let's go. Like, that's huge. So, no, it was a lot. Like I said, that was my first time ever doing some work with the WWE like that, and being able to go out there. It was like, that I've been watching Raw since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Literally since I was 4 or 5, I've been watching wrestling and Monday Night Raw. So to be able to go out there and have a moment like that, and like I said, kind of what I said earlier, you never know when it's your last. So really just did my best to live in the moment and just appreciate everything for what it was and for what it is.
And I mean, being backstage for WWE in any capacity, I do have to ask, how was the catering?
Oh, it's always good. If anybody tells you the catering isn't good, they're lying.
All right.
They're 100% lying to you. It was amazing. It was great. I think the highlight was like a maple, some type of like brown sugar maple chicken.
Ooh.
Breast that was like really good. Yeah, it was like that was the highlight of it for me.
Okay. Now, you were, and I find this, interesting, a name that popped up. You were in a triple threat match against Mecha Wolf.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? I believe the other person.
Yeah, I mean, so
Ricky Cruz as well.
Ricky Cruz, yep. So Mecha Wolf, super easy to work with, and just a really cool dude, So and he's getting all the opportunities he's getting with the NWA and AAA right now. Like, a guy like that deserves it because he's a very great example of professionalism and professional wrestling. He was very informative. He wanted to make me look good, and he wanted to take the moves from me that he wanted to take my big moves. Like the guy like that didn't have to let me give him a backbreaker. A guy like that didn't have to let me hit him with a spear. Like a lot of guys, he didn't have to do all that, and he went above and beyond for me. And we had a little moment after the match, did the whole put me over thing, and when guys do stuff like that, like it's all love and respect, and he took care of me, and like out there, I was never put in an unsafe position, and we're friends on Facebook. We still, every time we see each other, we chat a little bit. He's a great. I could reach out to him if I wanted to, ask any question I needed to. He's a great guy. So it was a really fun match, and it happened like a kind of early in my career too. So like I got to a point, my last year or two in my year or two in Chicago, right, where I was just learning to I was learning in general, right. I was just really learning as I was wrestling, learning on the fly, as they say.
Right. All right.
But yeah, that's that. Yeah, that was a great match, and too, like, can't say enough about Ricky Cruz. Like, talk about a guy that's just given me as much, has helped me as much as he could, and given me as much, knowledge and information as he could. Like, what else could I ask for?
All right. Now, I'm a big arena guy. And this isn't necessarily a wrestling arena, but it is one of the most famous arenas. You wrestled outside of Wrigley Field in Chicago.
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, I did.
Well, and I believe that was for WWE night. How did that come about?
Yeah, it was like so it was sponsored by Galley Lucha Libre. Galley had teamed up with the guys over at Wrigley and the Cubs to do wrestling on the day of the WWE night, and it was a lot of fun because I hadn't been home back to Chicago in over a year at that point, and my favorite place on earth, truthfully, is Wrigley Field. I'm a diehard Cubs fan. I was in front of the marquee, in the middle of the street, when they won the World Series, and it's one of the greatest moments of my life. Like, it was 100 years at that point. You could be another 100 years. I may never see it again. May never see that. I hope not, right? But I may never see that again. So for for me to be such a big Cubs fan and for that to happen, it was insane. And they had us do. I wrestled multiple times too. They had us do a battle royal. That they had me win, and the winner of the battle royal had like a Discovery Championship match. Later on, before the game started, and it was a lot of fun, man. I like I said, I got a lot of my friends and family came out, and we all got to go to the Cubs game together after the show. And just a great overall experience. Like I said, it's literally I'm wrestling like something I never thought could even happen, right? Like, my favorite place in the world, I'm getting to do what I love to do more than anything in the world. Like, it was the perfect storm. So very happy. I was very happy, and I was very one of my probably if I had to list my favorite day of 2023, I'd probably say that was my favorite day.
And I was gonna say, Wrigley Field, historic building. I'm surprised that wrestling hasn't ran out of it that often. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure if the WWE or AEW ran out of Wrigley Field, they would sell it out. For sure. And they do a lot of like different, entertainment events. Like, they do a lot of concerts. They do do college football games there. Yeah, they do a lot of stuff there, and I don't think wrestling, like our wrestling show was done outside the stadium on a brand new turf area that they had installed over the last couple of years with the renovations, and it was, like I said, it was super gorgeous, super fun. And yeah, I think a wrestling event at Wrigley Field would be monstrous. It'd be huge, and somebody should do it. One of these big companies need to do it. I know TNA is coming back, so maybe TNA. I don't know. Somebody needs to do it.
Now, you were also an extra for AEW. What was that experience?
Yes. So my little highlight of all that has been being able to meet like one of my what are the guys I look up to? You know, obviously Roderick Strong being the Messiah, the backbreaker. I've done, you know, I've done AEW extra a couple times now, and first time I was able to meet his wife, Marina Shafir, and you know, be able to chat with her a little bit and tell her, you know, what Roddy's, you know, done for me in my career, and you know, all that. And she's such a sweetheart. You know, she told him all about me, and you know, all that. And by the time Roddy had gotten signed with AEW at that point, you know, I saw him. You know, I saw him just, you know, doing his thing, you know, being at work, and I went right up to him. I'm like, hey, man, like, or hey, you know, you were super back there, and he already knew, you know, he knew my name, you know, and like when, you know, that was like a moment, like being able to chat with him and pick his brain and all that, like it makes everything worth it. And you know, without AEW and the opportunities they've given me, I wouldn't have been able to, you know, have those conversations and meet the people that I've met. But you know, being able to talk to Roddy and, you know, pick his brain and, you know, let him know what he's done for me in my career, you know, was definitely the highlight of my experiences there so far.
I think it's time for that segment once again on Jake's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
All right, so very early on in my wrestling career, it was a car full, there's about 4 of us in the car. I'll leave names out for now. That's not really too important. But 4 of us in the car, and I'm assuming you're from Southern California, right?
I am.
Okay, so in the Midwest, and you know, Illinois specifically, we tend to get body slammed with snow.
Yes.
And so in this particular December night, it was no different. And so we drove down. It was super clear. You know, we had a carload of guys. You know, there's 4 of us total in this little Chevy Cruze, right? Rear wheel drive. You know, we didn't look at the weather. We're just like, let's get to the booking. You know, whatever, call it a day. So we go, right? We're going to the booking and doing our thing, and it was a great show. You know, we all wrestled. It was all good. You know, no one got hurt. Everything was safe. And then we had a 4-hour drive back up north, you know, to get back home. And a 4-hour drive turned into a 6.5-hour drive real quick. And yeah, I mean, it was snow. It was literally whiteout conditions, man. That's the best way I can describe it to you. Whiteout conditions, you know, middle of the night, everybody's sleeping except for me, you know, just having to stick it out. And it wasn't my car, you know, I was driving somebody else's Chevy Cruze, and man, that was one of the scariest, craziest nights I've ever had, because just, you know, literally unaware if I'm going to lose the control of the car for 6 hours straight. You know, had to drop everybody off individually and find, you know, get in and out of these neighborhoods that weren't plowed yet, because they don't plow the streets. That's another thing. They don't plow the streets or the expressways until after all the snow falls, right? And they just kind of expect you to stay off the roads until then. So that was a big part of it too. Was like, damn, like I'm just, you know, I'm literally just, best way I can say it, I'm just sending it and just praying that I don't, you know, this car doesn't lose control and we don't break down, or, you know, whatever the case may have been. And it was, like I said, it was one of those rides from hell for sure. And I'm very happy. It was one of those days where I couldn't wait to get to my bed. That's for sure. Crazy story. Crazy road story.
Definitely a bizarre adventure, to say the least.
Yeah, and then, like I said, one important to your listeners, I'd imagine, too, because like I said, I moved out here about 1.5 years ago, and I remember I was up in Santa Clarita just grabbing some dinner, right, and snow started to trickle down, like just little flurries. And I was in the downtown area of like Santa Clarita, Valencia, and it's like a little like, you know, like the classic like little, you know, downtown hometown thing, right? And it was like a little Christmas moment. Everybody walked out into the road and was taking pictures, and their eyes were all glistening. They had never seen snow before.
Yeah.
They'd never seen it snow. Remember it was snowing last year, like around this time? Like they've never seen snow, like these people. So it was cute. I was like, I mean, I'm looking around and I'm like, really? Like some flurries? You guys are getting like, you guys are busting out the cameras and like marking your calendars and all, but it's a different life down here, man, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, so.
And fortunately, a lot of our listeners do understand what you're talking about because a good majority of our interviews come from either the Northeast or up in Canada. So, snow.
Oh, so they get it. Yeah, they get it.
Yeah, they get it.
They get it.
All right. Now we've been talking about Jake Painter for a little while now. Can you tell us about Hurricane Jake?
I'm sorry?
Can you tell us about Hurricane Jake?
Hurricane Jake?
Yeah.
I don't know what are you referencing?
Somebody on Twitter called you Hurricane Jake. But maybe I'm reading too much into that.
I don't know. This is news to me. It's news to me. I don't know what Hurricane Jake means. Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Fair enough.
But hey, if something gets thrown at the wall, right, and it sticks, all right, sounds good to me. No, tell me about it. What did you read about it? I'd love to hear about stuff about me. I have no idea. So
somebody had referenced. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but somebody had referenced you.
It's okay.
Pertaining to football, they had a picture of you as a child, and it said Hurricane Jake.
Oh, okay. So, when we were growing up, I played for the Streamwood Falcons, right? And our biggest rivalry again for the Streamwood Falcons was the town over, Hanover Park Hurricanes, right? So when we had those games, I always like balled out. I always had, we used to kill them every time. It was, I don't even know if you can call it a rivalry, right? If you're always beating them, but we, I always had my best games against those guys. It was just like it was like Cowboys Eagles. It's like Bears Packers. Like the stars will shine, and you're gonna have they're gonna get ready and they're gonna lock in and have a great game. And they started calling me Hurricane Jake on those weeks because I came in like a hurricane. I caused problems. I caused, I wreak havoc. We just, I made the plays that were difference makers in those games. When we were younger. So that would kind of stick during those games because the Hurricanes had to handle Hurricane Jake. But I haven't even heard that reference in so long. That's why I was like, where did you hear that? And I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense now.
It took us a minute, but we got there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I had my wrestling cap on, and I had to take my wrestling cap off and put the younger Jake cap on. But no, that was, oh my gosh, so long. I haven't heard that in so long.
All right. Now, does Painter paint?
Do I paint? I would say that I would be better at painting like the siding on houses or buildings than I would be as a, from an artist standpoint, right? If I had a blank canvas in front of me, I don't think I'd draw or paint much more than the closest thing I could to a Dragon Ball Z character. Because that was what I used to sketch when I was younger. I used to sketch, Vegeta and Goku and Gohan and all the Saiyans because that was, one of my favorite things. It was Dragon Ball Z and wrestling for me growing up. So.
Well, I think that's a great segue into my next question. can you tell us about your love of Dragon Ball Z?
No, I mean, from a very, I remember it like as clear as day, right? You those things that click with you, right? You remember your first wrestling match. You remember what got you into wrestling and all that. I'll never forget it. You're sitting there as a kid watching Cartoon Network, right? And then all of a sudden, Toonami comes on, right? And
Right.
I'm sitting there as a 5 or 6 year old kid, and I'm like, yo, this is so much cooler than the stuff I usually watch. Like, what's Toonami? It's like this guy in a, the narrator, electronic voice, and
Tom.
it's attention grabbing. That's what it was, right? It really grabbed my attention, and they're like, all right, like now up, we're sending it in. The way they presented, like putting the next episode on, it's like Dragon Ball Z, and I was hooked from the start. Hooked. Like, made my grandma and my mom go to, this is, there was like a weird time period where like Dragon Ball Z wasn't mainstream, right? And you couldn't like go get action figures from the store or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But like during this time on Toonami, when I was a kid, like this is when all the stores had the action figure. Even like Walgreens and CVS had they had Dragon Ball Z action figures. So made my mom, every time I went to the store, made my mom, my grandma buy me a new character and whatever. And yeah, I mean, I was hooked from the start, and it really helped me with my confidence, watching that, because when I was younger, a lot of people would talk down on me, just I was a shy. I wouldn't say I was shy, but I was, go with the flow, like, I really let anybody say what they wanted to me. I'm not gonna sit here and like, I don't have a sob story for you. I wasn't like bullied, or anything like that. But like, I didn't stand up for myself a lot, and I didn't have like much of a personality per se. Like, not like I didn't have like a lot of confidence or an ego or anything like that. And seeing how Vegeta handled things and seeing how he, watching that character develop and what he was and what he is and the trials and tribulations, like that really shaped like how I am as a person now. I always say that Edge and Vegeta are like my two biggest influences on my life because of all of their trials and all of their tribulations and everything they've been through. They still are pushing to get better. They're still pushing for more. They're still pushing to be the best or to be better. And like, I feel like that's a theme of my life, and like kind of bring this conversation full circle, right? Back to like the beginning when we were talking about, just the different schools and different experiences that I've been through. Like, it's just to get better. It's to be the best. It's to perfect this craft. It's to be a better human being. It's to be the best person that I could be personally, right? So
I love how you brought it full circle right back to wrestling.
yeah, right back to wrestling. And it really influences what I want to do with my character in general,
Right.
I've kind of been thinking about some differences that I could change, right? Like bringing a little bit of that more, because I've been a baby face, most of my wrestling career. So maybe bringing some of that Prince Vegeta out of me, that ego that he has. Or, not a lot of people like Dragon Ball GT. I love Dragon Ball GT. Like, Baby Vegeta was like one of my favorite characters. So maybe like, some of like the artwork of Baby Vegeta and with, how they drew him when, and the concept stuff, like that's another, aspect. And I'm like, oh, like maybe it's time to twinkle some of this in here per se. So, that's kind of, it's just been it's heavily influenced my life for so long. So, and I don't see it, I don't see it ever not influencing me. It's like it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite shows. It's one of my favorite things in my life. So I literally have like Broly t-shirts and Vegeta t-shirts that I wear around now, So it's like, it's crazy. Like I'm all about it.
And you would definitely stick out if you had something inspired by GT rather than Z, because in wrestling there's a lot of Dragon Ball references, but unfortunately not a lot of GT
Yes.
references.
Yeah, GT gets all the hate, man. I hate it. He gets all the hate, and it's because it's not a Tor. I think it's. I get it. It's not a Toriyama product, and he didn't. And it's not canon, but you know, for me personally, I'm more of a more Dragon Ball the better kind of guy.
Oh yeah.
Like even the new one, like that Daima, right? Where they all get turned into kids. That's coming out soon. Like I'm even excited for that because I'm like, you know what? Like maybe they'll do it right. You know, because GT, you know, that's probably where they dropped the ball was making Goku a kid and not still just not doing it right. So maybe they'll do it right. Who knows? But more Dragon Ball, the better.
You know, it's funny how they say that GT isn't technically canon when I feel GT is more canon than Super. Just the
Yeah, with how they pick things up. Yeah, because where's Oob in Super?
right. Yeah, you're right about that. And he is
Yeah,
technically
but they're
canon
also
now.
saying, right? Yeah, I mean they're also saying too that like all that like everything that's happening in Super was supposed to be like before the Budokai Tenkaichi tournament where he left, right? Where
Right.
he left with Oob to go train him. But that doesn't make sense to me either. You know, it wouldn't make sense with the way they're writing it. So
Yeah, you're right about that.
I think eventually they'll declare that last episode of Dragon Ball Z as non-canon too, right? And just have Super be if Dragon Ball ever ends officially, like that's how they'll end it with Super, and there'll be some payoff with, you know, a fight with Beerus or something. Who knows?
We shall definitely see as it's coming back around as it always does.
Yeah,
Right. I think it's
as it always does.
I think it's a good time to
Even if it takes 25 years.
if you're a One Piece fan, you've been waiting 25 years for sure.
Exactly.
It's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about
All
it.
right.
Every movie has a
Okay.
soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
You know, I don't have any songs in particular that need to be on there, but obviously with my love of Dragon Ball and my love of WWE, I would definitely let Bruce Falconer and Jim Johnston just cook up some fresh new stuff for this soundtrack.
I absolutely love that.
Yes, I think I will sit here and tell you, like, I went and looked at my little like Apple. I use Apple Music for the gym, right? For as my choice of music streaming. And you see everybody's at the end of the year, right? They're putting it. They post their top artist soundtrack and what their top listens and all that, right? So I went back and I was like, all right, cool. Like I want to see what mine say, right? And literally my top songs were Jim Johnston tracks from like Ruthless Aggression era and Bruce Falconer soundtracks from the Dragon Ball Z, from like the Cell Saga and the Android Saga, because that was like the music that got me, that gets me hyped up. It gets me super hyped up even now.
Oh yeah, Cell's theme was a banger.
Cell's theme, Gohan's theme when he's transforming into a Super Saiyan 2, Vegeta's power-up music, all of it. How can you complain? It all works.
Well, usually this is just a subjective, question. There is no wrong answers. But if there was ever a right answer to this question, you just said it.
Thank you.
Now that we have the soundtrack down, we go to casting. Who plays Jake
Okay.
when you can't save yourself because you are obligated to make a Stanley-esque cameo?
Of course. So I'm like, listen, I think I'm a good-looking guy. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm the most, I have confidence. I'm not the most handsome guy, but my two of my favorite actors are obviously like Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. Like I love all of their stuff. It would be super cool if like one of those guys could play me. I'm becoming more of a fan of Zac Efron too because of like the the bio stuff he's been doing, especially with the Von Erichs movies. So I think he's like a very, he invests in his role a lot with what he does. I think for me, right, like who I think could really get me, I don't remember. Do you remember the name of the guy that plays PETA in Hunger Games?
Oh, I know. Fuck, what was his name?
I forget his name, but that's one of them, right? So him for sure would be one of them. I think Bradley Cooper, if he was like as young as he was in The Hangovers, even though he's an Eagles fan, I'm not a fan of the Eagles. And then, Chris Hemsworth for this part of my life now, because I kind of got like the Thor look going with the long hair and the beard, and I got a little bigger physically, so Chris Hemsworth would be pretty cool too.
Okay. Now, and the name of the actor is Josh Hutcherson.
Josh Hutcherson. As soon as you said it, I'd know.
Yes. Ironically enough, in the movie with Liam Hemsworth.
Yes.
Okay. Now that we have Jake casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people in your movie significant to you in your story, and who would play them?
So my roommate and my best friend since kindergarten, his name's Hunter. He literally is a spitting image of Keanu Reeves, so that's pretty straightforward there.
Okay.
My best friend, another best friend of mine is Damien. He's, like I said, been best friends since kindergarten. Very huge part of my story. That one is where the Brad Pitt or the Leonardo DiCaprio would have to go because he looks very similar to me. We both have, to them and myself, both have like the, like that blondish, brunette color way of hair and beard thing. So I know those guys kind of carry that complexion to them. And then who else? See, I would say my girlfriend, but I'm not gonna. You don't want to compare women, right? That's just you're setting yourself up for. If she heard me say, an actress that looked like her, I'm just putting myself in the doghouse, right?
I mean, if it's complimentary.
Yeah, we'll say my brother. I have my little brother, and I don't know who I'd have play him. Maybe Christian Bale. My brother's a little skinnier, longer, and he can range from being a little more bulkier size-wise to really skinny, depending on what's going on. So, yeah, we'll use my brother, my Christian Bale. That's fine with me.
This is sounding like a fantastic movie, a blockbuster.
With a very high budget.
Yes. And you could pre-order the tickets now.
Now, you're going to need to, because...
Yes. They're going fast.
This got like a hairspray line of actors here.
Well, you mentioned your brother. He's actually trying to become a wrestler as well, no?
Yes, he is. So my family relocated from the Chicago area down to the Jackson, Tennessee area, so West Tennessee, and he is currently training with Championship Wrestling from Memphis right now.
So, Yeah, I know that area quite well actually.
Nah, no way.
Yeah, Austin Lane is probably down there now.
Yep. And that's where Blake Christian's from as well too. That's like the biggest name that I hear from out of there.
I believe Marco Stunt is down there as well.
Yeah, Marco Stunt has a school in the St. Louis area, or promotions. I think it's called Cape Championship Wrestling, CCW.
Yes, I know. Yep.
Yep.
So I mean, are we going to see the Painter Brothers tag, or are we more likely to see the Painter Brothers fight?
Fight.
Fight.
Fight for sure. I mean, I'm very open to doing whatever in wrestling. As long as as long as it gets me to where I want to go. Right. I'm very open. If I had my choice about it, though, I'm very. This journey is very selfish for me. It's very. I do it for me. I don't, a lot of people are like, I do it for my parents. I do it for, I do it for my family. I do this for me. This is all for me. I am very selfish with this journey that I'm on. And I'm doing this for my life. I'm doing this to set myself and my future family up for success. And, being in a tag team, you put that in the hands of another person. And I understand that it could be my brother, it could be one of my best friends, it could be whoever. But this is my journey. It's in my hands. And sure, would I want to would I want to, tag with my brother? Of course I'm going to want to tag with my brother at some point. Like that's like, we grew up together loving wrestling, and like that would be great, but I think there's more to be had for a rivalry between us than us teaming together.
Absolutely. And I actually really admire your honesty, because not a lot of people would say, I'm doing this for me, which is a completely valid reason to ever do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's not many things in my life that I can sit here and say that I did that for me.
Right.
And this is one of those things where it's literally only for me. Like my family are still not fans of me living in Southern California. They're not fans of me being 2,000 miles away from them, and with how expensive everything is out here and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they understand, right? I have their support because they know that I'm only doing what they raised me to do, and that is set my mind to something and go make it happen.
They would probably.
So that's what this journey is all about.
They would probably kill you if they knew how much you were paying for gas.
Oh yeah, I mean they came to visit a couple times, and my dad they had never been out to the West Coast at all ever in their lives before I came out here. So my dad, we pick him up from LAX, and we're driving down 405, and we hit some traffic, and he's like, "Oh my God, traffic!" And then we pull off right to go grab some food, and he sees the first gas station. He's like, "Oh my God, $6 for gas!" And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, like this is what it is now, out here." He's like, "It's $2.70, whatever, back home." I'm like, "Yeah, it's crazy."
Right. Now onto
Nuts.
Onto a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's
okay.
Next?
Nope.
So very.
I understand the appeal. I understand the appeal, right? Because it's like a sweet. There's something to be said about like that sweetness to savory, right?
Right.
and so I get why people like it, but absolutely not. That's very, like, you're talking to a deep dish Chicago pizza guy. You're not putting any pineapple anywhere near my stuff. No way.
Alright. What's your spirit Pokemon?
I don't know. A fire burns inside me, man. Charizard for sure.
Oh yeah. We love the late great.
Like I rage inside like a furnace, man. So it definitely had to be a fire type. Or I mean, you know, I don't know. There's not really any like lightning types, that really get me. Like Pikachu's like everybody's favorite, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like cliche, right? But none of them really, I don't know, none of them really resonate with me the way Charizard does, because Charizard, the fire burns inside him, and then he always perseveres. Like he always gets his, he gets beat up, pushed into a corner, and he always pulls through for Ash. So
Alright. And you're not
I feel like
going
that kind of resonates with me.
you're not going to get a better fire type than Charizard at all. So yeah.
No.
Alright.
Blaziken's pretty cool though. I will say Blaziken's pretty cool.
Alright.
Blaziken.
Now we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for THUG? THUG.
I will admit this. I only even started watching Tracy Smothers after he had passed. And honestly, like, just because it was never shown to me. I never got to watch, I didn't come up in a household that watched anything outside of the WWE, right? So a lot of that stuff I had to educate myself on. And, it's one of those unfortunate things that I wish I had watched more of him early on in my life, just to be able to appreciate him more, because now I'm sitting here appreciating him after he's passed away. So a lot of his nuances, I wish I was more aware of them. So this might be a learning moment for me here.
Well, T is for terrible, H is for hell,
Terrible.
U is for ugly, and G is for jail, cause a dog can't spell.
A dog can't spell. See, I didn't even know that was Tracy Smothers.
Yes.
Crazy.
We love the late great Tracy. We would have had an opportunity to have met him. Unfortunately, that never came to pass. But we're trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
No, absolutely, and I hope you do, because all you're gonna do is educate more wrestling fans who, and more people in wrestling in general, who are like myself, who like came up in WWE only households, right, and just didn't know about the territory wrestlers or the NWAs or the any late early wrestlings that I wouldn't have been exposed to, until I was able to get onto the WWE network.
Right.
And that only happened, right? Like what, in the early 10s, right? 2012, 2013?
2014 was the WWE network, I believe.
2014, yeah. So I mean, yeah, like that's 2014. That puts me as a sophomore in high school. So that's when I'm starting to dive into stuff like that,
Right.
And even then, I'm over here mesmerized by the Undisputed Era. I'm over here mesmerized by, the crazy NXT stuff, and that's why that was I used to sit there and just watch every episode of NXT like that when the network came out. So.
Right. And,
It's crazy. It's crazy how far everything's come.
I know a lot of our guests, they're on the younger side. They might not know who Tracy is. But, like, if me saying, a dog can't spell, if at least one of them, Googles Tracy Smothers after the end of the week, I consider that a win.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about.
Alright, weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical rock.
I think I could do it.
Okay,
I think I could do it.
so,
It's
Payne goes
I definitely stubbed my toe a couple times. I think I'd have some bloody knuckles. How big's the rock?
I always say it's about the size of a shoe.
Okay, so it wouldn't hurt my back
I mean,
picking it up.
I mean, if you fall on it, then yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely I mean, we have guys in in modern wrestling that wrestle blow up dolls. So I don't think it would be too hard to wrestle a rock.
Well, just for context, there's this wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
Holy crap!
Yes. A sight to be seen, to say the least.
Oh, I can imagine. Now I have 2 things to Google after this.
You don't have to Google it. I'll send you the link to the match.
Thank you. Save me the trouble.
I'll save you the trouble.
Also, do me a favor. I'm like a film junkie when it comes to wrestling, and I take a lot of notes. So if you want to send me your favorite Tracy Smothers match, I would love to sit down and watch it.
Okay. I'll have to look in the archives.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure there's a couple, but whatever you got, I'd love to watch.
Oh yeah. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself in my best physical shape because every day I'm really grinding and working towards that. I see myself wrestling consistently across the country and across the globe on television, and I see myself in the early stages of having a family, being married and with at least a baby on the way, ideally. And yeah, that's where I see myself. That's all the work, everything I'm doing right now is so that in 5 years' time, all those things can be a reality, and money isn't an issue, and chasing a dream is no longer an issue because my dream is a reality. And yeah, and trust me, like I said, the first thing I said was my body. I want nothing more. The biggest feedback that I get from everybody that I ask to hear, lay it on me. Why haven't I made it yet? What's holding me back? What is it? I always get told I just need to look the part more, and that's something that is in my head all the time. Like I'm a big mirror guy now, and it's people are always like, oh, cut it out, whatever, but it really is about looking like a professional wrestler, and really putting in the work to, it's all about being undeniable, right?
Right.
Like you look at Cody Rhodes. When you look at Cody Rhodes now, and you look at Cody Rhodes, what Cody Rhodes looked like when he got let go, there's a drastic difference in who that person is and why he's the star that he is now. And it took. I'm just happy that I get it. A lot of guys don't get it. Like they would rather have the slice of pizza than have the chicken breast, or they'd rather have the burger than have the steak. And it's like you gotta, or they won't go to the gym, or they won't do the cardio, or they won't sacrifice the bag of chips, or they won't sacrifice the donuts and the cookies. And I'm not saying that I don't eat those things, right? But there's a time and there's a place, and you have to earn it, right? And that's probably the biggest thing for me about my future, right? Is I want to look the way that I want to look. I want to be doing what I'm putting all this work in right now, right? What I'm doing, everything I'm doing right now, I want it to pay off. I want to get to that point where it's paying off, and I really want. My number one dream is to have a family. If you told me, Jake, and I tell all my friends, all my people this all the time. They're like, whoever, right? It was like, hey, Jake, you could either be a father of two with a wife, or you can headline WrestleMania for 10 years straight. What are you picking? I'm picking having a family every single day, every single time. So.
And I mean, that's the future in the end,
Yep, after wrestling, when I become an old, shriveled up man, I'll always have my family. So.
Exactly. All right. And what is a match that people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what you are all about?
Man, I'm really bad with this, right? Because I'm like my own worst critic. So, please go watch the New Japan match. That it's not that I'm even like. It's not even about how proud I am of that match. It's just, it's one of those matches where, like we kind of touched on earlier, it's like a culmination of just blood, sweat, tears, hard work. It's just a culmination of so many things that personifies who I am as a wrestler. So definitely one of those. Definitely the New Japan match, for sure. Would be one that I'd say, hey, go watch. Go check that out.
I believe that's on YouTube, right?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. They have the full show.
Perfect. I will grab that match from YouTube, and I will put a link to the match in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox for anybody that hasn't seen it, wants to see it after this.
Awesome.
And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of
All right.
This is our speed round or bonus round around where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Rated R superstar.
Edge or Adam Copeland?
Edge.
There you go.
That's why I said rated R superstar, so it can stay vague.
we want the specifics.
Yes. No, Edge is my goat. And lately I've become really, really fond of Randy Orton and just been really appreciating him. So Edge and Orton are my two.
All right. Worst wrestler.
Skip.
We will give you the default answer.
Yes.
You have chosen Eva Marie.
Thanks. You said it, not me.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Could you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes. You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Edge.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Metalingus.
Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
All but lost.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash.
Kayfabe is also Paul London's new wrestling academy. Go check it out.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
Really?
Yes, it has seeds. Tomato logic.
See, even a tomato is still a veggie for me.
Well, you're part of Squash Squad, and that means a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
I'll just, I'm not afraid to say this at all. There are women that have no business being in a wrestling ring that just don't, just have their ass cheeks out in general. So, I'm not a fan of it being out. I'm not a fan. Like, if you need your ass cheeks to be out for you to go out there and wrestle, men or women, you're missing the point. There's another industry where your ass cheeks can hang out. I'll leave it at that.
So full coverage.
Yeah, I mean, just wear pants, or wear the trunks. Wear what you're supposed to wear as a professional wrestler. Like, if you get a wedgie and your butt cheek sticks out, like, just fix the wedgie. Whatever.
All right. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Yes.
Ooh.
Because are they considered a stranger if they recognize me?
No. As if you don't know who they are, then that makes them a stranger, I would say.
Okay, cool. So my job for work is I sell like alcohol and like beer, alcohol into like different restaurants and different grocery stores and all that. So I run into random people that I don't know all the time. One of the fans back home in Chicago had recognized me at the store because they're a fan of a couple of the promotions that I had been wrestling for, and right away, I think it was around the time where Darby and Jeff Hardy had that match.
Yes.
Where he did the swanton off the top. Yeah, so that was when Darby got brought up, was because he did something crazy.
And thank you for the story. And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time.
No, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Like I said, super easy interview. You had great questions. And, we really bounced things off really well together. So I had a great time. Thank you.
Absolutely. We like to keep it interesting for our guests.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Once again, where can we find all things Jake Painter on social media?
Instagram is my personal favorite social media at BBA_Jake_Painter. You can find me on Twitter at JPaint30, and then on Facebook too, just Jake Painter. If you see that smile with the long golden locks, that's me.
And where can we find merchandise?
All merchandise, including my supplement that I take, Dr. Swole from Dr. Swole Nutrition and High Valley CBD, will be in my links on my social media. So if you were able to find my pages, go ahead and look in the bio, and you'll see the links for them.
All right. And you don't have to go looking. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube for fast starts, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are. on, you have no excuse. Give him a damn follow.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment both on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Pale One Coffee. Join us tomorrow as we interview Angel Blue, and then on the 27th, we are interviewing Katrina Blue. Alright, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Instagram, and Thread. Follow me personally at JC992. Alright, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Alright.
Let's do it.
For always special guest Jake Painter, Coleco Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment. Let's go.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.